Hi, and welcome to the Business Growth Journey podcast with me, Nick Termini. Today, we've got awesome guests, Laura and Stephen Rains. Hey, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, Nick.
How's it going, Nick?
Life is beautiful. Awesome. So we're excited to have you share your entrepreneurial journey today and what it was like getting started at Premier Comfort, how you've grown, and just what your journey's been. But first, before we get started, how do we know each other?
Well, you and I met at a networking event probably, 2.5 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah.
Awesome. And real quick, where did you guys grow up?
I grew up here in the Northland, Kansas City, Northland for the most part. Spent probably 5 or 6 years at the Lake of the Ozarks and then came back to the Northland and have been here ever since.
Awesome.
And me, I was born in Georgia, moved to Kansas City when I was 11. And yeah, been home ever since.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, and when you guys were growing up, what did you do after high school? Or actually, let's back up a second. Did you have any entrepreneurial starts? Did you ever start any companies as you were growing up or earlier before Premier Comfort?
No, I mean, I had some, not growing up, but I was in real estate for a while. So that's somewhat entrepreneurial, I feel like.
Lux already.
Yeah, and I had a company that was offering assistant real estate services to other agents, and I was doing that before Premier Comfort. So a little
Okay.
bit of experience with that. Yeah.
Okay. It's funny. So on the podcast, I've had people talk about making and selling bracelets like in high school. There's been a couple lemonade stands brought up and several landscaping mowing companies. So it's always kind of interesting to hear. And like you mentioned, and being in real estate is definitely like having your own company, right? And so after school, what did you guys do?
We actually were high school sweethearts. So when I graduated high school, we had our first child. So we had our son, Caden. And really at that point, we were kind of in survival mode of just, making money where we could and when we could. And just trying to make it as 18-year-olds living on our own with the baby.
Wow. Yeah, that's real life.
Stephen held it down well with his careers, usually labor work, like in concrete and construction. And then I did usually like part-time. I'd work a couple part-time jobs to work around his schedule so I could stay home during the day.
Wow. And what type of part-time jobs were they?
A lot of serving, and assistant type jobs.
Gotcha. And so, wow, that really, so in hearing people's story, right? Like you can see where they grow, how they come together. And it's obvious like that's a real, like you said, survival mode where you are really getting to know yourself, getting to know each other and a major growth part of life. I mean, that's awesome. And so when you then got into real estate, what was that like and what led you to that, Laura?
Well, I had family working in real estate, so it started out part-time, and this was also the height of 2008 foreclosures. So my mom is actually in real estate, and she was listing a lot of the foreclosures with the banks, which was a lot of paperwork and, it's just a lot of extra work. So I helped a lot with that. That's how I got into it, just helping her with the processes and those banks, their websites, and very specific about how they had stuff. And I helped her with her marketing. And then from there, I eventually got licensed and started selling real estate myself.
Awesome. So, and have you ever bought any of the foreclosed homes, or is it strictly working with it on that side? Because that's a totally different animal.
Yeah, no, we have not gone into any of that. No.
Gotcha. And so, Stephen, for you, Laura mentioned some different construction type jobs. What ultimately led you to heating and cooling?
So started out doing concrete work. My stepdad owned a foundation business.
Okay.
So I would help out during the summer, make some extra money. And then I got out of high school. I didn't go to a trade school or college or anything. So I went, right into work doing concrete and
Like
actually
what kind of projects?
no concrete.
Yeah, but what type of concrete pro
Like, so we would do like flat work, like driveways, your basement floor, but primarily we would do concrete, like foundations for houses,
Okay.
residential new construction. And like she was mentioning, the 2007, 2008 crash, that really hit us hard. Nobody was building houses.
Yeah.
So I had to move on to something else to provide. And then from there, I went into a couple union jobs that was kind of hit or miss with the layoffs as well. And got back into doing like house remodels, wood rot, siding. Did some processing jobs. I did find out that I do love manufacturing processing.
Uh-huh.
I love processes and I love it. Just learning everything at that point. Once again, layoffs happen, and I would always start over at the bottom.
Yeah.
Once that happened so many times, I was like, we gotta figure something out. So I wanted something more license wise. If something was to happen, I could start over at the top versus starting over a whole new career.
Yeah.
I kind of just picked HVAC, honestly. My brother at the time was doing it. Talked to me a little bit about it. I don't think he influenced my decision or anything. But yeah, that's why I pretty much just went into that field and I really enjoy it.
That's interesting. So you've gotten to see like many different layers of the construction process that goes into home building, right?
Yes.
So if you're doing foundations, able to do driveways, you mentioned wood rot repair. Like what other aspects have you worked on within, home?
Oh man, houses, I've pretty much almost built them from the ground up. I've done the concrete structure, a little bit of framing. I would help out with, other guys that would do framing. They would need some help on the weekends. That sheetrock, obviously, that's part of it. And now ductwork system, venting and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
pretty much from the ground up, except for the roof.
that's awesome. Laura, this is interesting because it if you were working on real estate when everything crashed and we're working on the foreclosure side, like it was like you guys were kind of in a toggle, right? Where it it provided opportunities for what you were doing, and then it was just an interesting time in general.
Definitely.
So, Laura, when you got into real estate, what'd you like about it?
Flexibility of it. And we bought our first home when I think I was probably 19 and Stephen was 20, 21, and it was cheaper than rent. And I just loved getting people into home ownership, honestly. It was the best.
Sweet. And what part of real estate did you gravitate to, right? Like some people love putting deals together. So like you mentioned, maybe it's the why of helping somebody find their home to start their family, or is it just the fast pace of it in addition to the flexibility? Like what part of the marketing aspects, like what part of it did you really get excited about?
Really, I liked all of that, but again, working with people and just educating them on the process and finding them a good home and, making sure that they are in a position that they were comfortable and excited and got them into a good solid house. So, it was
So
exciting.
and with what Steven's background is and all of the different levels of working on a house and understanding the construction, like, was that a huge benefit for you to like, when you're going through inspections and to be able to kinda talk through that as you're learning, because it's a lot of stuff to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, was fun. We would have a lot of crossover with that stuff sometimes. So, yeah.
Awesome, and how long did you, end up staying in real estate?
I still maintain my license and referral. But I didn't completely exit it until really HVAC took off and it was taking up a lot of time. I thought that I was just going to be helping kick it off and get it going and realized it was actually a full-time career. Yeah, I would say I didn't completely, I was in it from 20 to 20 until probably about 10 years. No, 15 years, I'd say.
The real estate's like the Wild West, like, you never know what's gonna come up, especially, like, I did it on the commercial side, but, like, when you're in somebody's home, they act totally different, right? Like, it's pretty wild the things you see and learn about people just in general in that field.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned starting Premier Comfort Heating and Cooling. So how did that happen? How did that get started? Right? Like so Stephen, were you already working at a company and saw an opportunity, or like Laura, did you push him to start his own thing? Like how did this come together?
Kind of both.
Yeah, I'd
A
say
little bit
both.
of both. We talked about it. We knew it was something that he eventually wanted to do. And he'd worked for a big company, and that's where he got licensed at. And didn't really like that atmosphere of the high pressure sales and stuff. So he worked for a small company, and he learned a lot there as well, but he was still seeing things that he wanted to do differently. And then he had a little bit of a falling out with the owner of that company, and so we saw the opportunity and we just made the leap.
What a leap it is. So, okay, let's back up. So, have you guys always wanted to own your own companies? Like, is this something that's always resonated with you or
Not
no?
me. No, never even thought about it.
Really?
With me, yes. I don't like working for other people, so
I'm
yes.
the opposite. I like a consistent, just something that you know what's going to happen every day, right? Well, at least that's the mindset that I've had my whole life of
Yeah.
waking up, going to work, coming home, doing it over and over. It didn't bother me,
Yep.
but I knew a lot of business owners, my dad, my
Yeah.
stepdad, Laura's mom, she's a realtor. I mean, I see their schedules and what they do every day almost, not the behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, okay. So this is great. So talking into the mindset of being an entrepreneur, starting your own company, right? I mean, you start out, you have an idea, and with your guys, is it's obviously a skilled, licensed trade. That so no, not just anybody's going to jump into it, right? They've got to be what accredited and like have training and skilled in this. But then so Stephen, you're talking about liking the steadiness and routine of when you got started. Would you say that there was a steadiness or routine, or did it feel more like the Wild West?
Uh,
What the hell have we gotten ourselves into?
I tried to I kind of stayed in my old habits, of the 9 to 5
Yeah,
versus actually trying to learn the business aspect of it.
yeah,
And it's a big difference, from just barely getting by with your own company versus actually digging deep and spending that extra time to learn it thoroughly.
yeah. And what about you, Laura? What was it like when you guys got started? You mentioned you were going to help part time while you were
Yeah.
still in real estate. It doesn't seem like that's the case now.
No, it was not what I expected it to be, to be honest. But yeah, I really thought I was just going to help him like create the company and, get everything started and help him get his processes going and be able to like have him operate it.
Yep.
And yeah, there's a lot more to it, but great. I love it.
There's no part-time.
No. So isn't it amazing though? Like I've heard this and I've lived it too, where you have an idea of what you think it's going to be like, and it's like the exact opposite, right? Like I remember, throughout my career in different sales or leadership roles, I was always able to get things moving really fast and be able to find traction really quickly. And when you start your own company, like I had somebody on the podcast, I think it was Lisa with Urban Hikes. She was like, you start your company and no one knows. She's like, you have to let all these people know who you are, what you do, what to expect. And the reality is that takes time. And so, like for people that are high achievers, and which is generally people that own companies, it's a huge challenge because you get going, you're all excited, and then it's like, now what? Right. And so at what point did you guys hit where you're like, okay, we've got this steadiness going. We've got where I have a more predictable schedule because in the beginning, like it's just we got to get something going here. Like what was that beginning like, and like how has it grown, like for you guys?
I think we were very fortunate starting out actually, and it's probably because of all the years I have in real estate and all those connections I've made and the fact that we've lived here our whole lives. So we both
Yeah,
have, you know, a huge outrage of people that we've known. So we were lucky. We were very fortunate starting. But yes, I would say the first year or two where you're just taking everything you can get, you're trying to just fill your database with as many people as possible. But I would say we started in 2020, and after the first two, I would say 2.5 years, that's when we got really like felt stable. We felt like we were, solid and good and weren't stressing about we need to accept every job possible. And yeah, we were able to have more structured schedules and decide what kind of clients we want to work with and which ones we don't want to. Yeah.
It's a wild ride going through that too, right? Like, being able to shape, like, what are scenarios that we wanna be a part of and the ones we don't wanna be near.
Hmm.
And so, and how old is your company now?
5 years.
5 years, wow. And so how have you guys grown as business owners from when you look back to, you formed your LLC and got rocking and rolling, like, what does that gap look like from then to now?
Um, as far as just what we have as a business, is that what you mean? Or
I mean, just how you've grown in working with, like, with your team, with, all, like, through time, you learn more of what works and what doesn't, and you're able to do more of what works and less of what doesn't, and you get better at certain things, right? Like, how many fans do you guys have now compared to then, right? Like, how, and then each new thing you add on is where you got to figure out how do we do this, right? Like, how does this fit into what we do now? Like, what's the process been like for you guys growing as business owners?
I would say for me, I've had to put myself out there a lot on learning what I don't know, just acknowledging what I don't know.
Yeah.
So I do a lot more networking and lean on other business owners to hear their experiences and, trying to gain insight that way. I was also very used to working alone, and that doesn't work when you're working on a team. So I've had to get better at making sure that we have weekly meetings and that there's that communication piece that it's flowing in all directions because I can get in my own bubble and I think everything's okay, but I know that everybody else needs to, stay in that contact and communication so we're all on the same page.
and that's the hardest part. It sounds easy,
No, it's really hard.
but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat, but as far as your question, so, we've got 2 service vehicles. We've got an install setup, a truck and a trailer. We have 2 other employees. One just started about a month ago. So we're actively growing, which, like, everybody else knows, that's your growing pains there. But for me, I'm a good teacher, but when it comes to, making sure that everybody's on the same page, because I'm more of I just do it and don't explain it, as I've seen that causes hiccups down the line with other people because I didn't show them this specific thing. I just did it. So for me, it's just been implementing processes. So it doesn't matter if I'm there or he's there or she's there. It's going to be done the same way. And that's been a pretty tough one on me, because you got to have that accountability at some point.
Oh, that's great. So, and I think you nailed it. This is one of the hardest parts. Like, Laura talking about, finding out what you don't know and then leaning into that to be able to grow. I mean, there's so many humbling moments along the way too. And so, like, you guys, like, I hear a lot of parenting references, and I look at, like, with my boys, how they're 4 and 7, how communication is everything. So, Stephen, just like you said, you know, you get used to doing stuff and not explaining it. And when you don't explain it, there could be 1 or 2 steps that are missed that, like, create a huge issue. But it all comes down to slowing down to speed up and, like, learning how to do it. Like, have you guys also seen, like, how things at home translate to how you work with your team and customers? Like, it's pretty wild when you see, like just compare them. So when you look at, um, what the future looks like, you guys started your company, and was it kind of felt like survival mode in the beginning? And then what do you see it growing to? Like, what do you guys wanna grow to?
Well, for me, I definitely want to get out of the field sooner or later. Not 100%. You know, I love what I do. I think that's why I'm so good at it. Is it's not really a job for me. You know, I love it every day. I love it. I eat, breathe, sleep HVAC. Uh, but as far as what I want to do is get out of the field, kind of 25% in, you know, and get people doing what I'm doing. A couple guys running up and down doing maintenance and service, and you know, it may be a full time install crew. We haven't really nailed it down as far as our exact goals, but I mean, it's
Yes,
something
we
like
have.
that. Well, I mean,
Yes, we
it's
have.
it's very fluid, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it is as far
One
as,
thing leads to the next.
but yeah,
And so, like, oh, go
Oh,
ahead, Laura.
was gonna say our goal is to have at least 3 to 4 trucks running and, yeah, have a team of probably 6 technicians. We don't need to we're not trying to get huge, big. We don't need, like, 20 trucks on the road. We like to stay smaller to maintain our quality, and it's easier to communicate in a team that size, but, yeah, that's our biggest goal, I'd say. It's just
Awesome.
about
And so how do you guys like what's it been like and what have you had to learn to be able to work together and knowing which, who's does what and which lane you're in? Is that something that took a while to figure out or just through time or was it pretty natural how it came together?
I would say both. Both definitely have our strengths, so that's natural. I would say it's all the crap that no one wants to do that's yeah, that's where you have to communicate. Time blocking is really important, making sure that we carve out time to talk about work, not like the day-to-day stuff, but actually talk about the business.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, we're not perfect. It's always working on it. So
And so as you guys do as you've worked together, like do you have any rules where it's like we don't talk about work after this time or any boundaries that you try to set? Like you mentioned not getting too much into the day to day. Is there like a cutoff time where it's like, okay, now we're not doing that, or is it just always fluid and rocking and rolling?
a little bit of both. There's definitely times where we're out doing stuff that one of us will try to bring up work and we'll just have to say it's not work time right now. And so we'll just have to push it to the side until later. But we just communicate. That's the best way to do it,
Yeah.
really.
That's awesome. And I mean, there's just so much to learn from that. And so what's it been like since you guys have brought on team outside of yourself? So like Steven, you were talking about being able to document things, train people. Like how have you seen yourself grow as you like, I got to really break this down for each person and then being able to hold them accountable. What's that process been like? Because it's wild once your company grows beyond you, right?
for me, you know, when you're hiring other people, you try to vet them as good as you can,
Yeah.
but you don't really know sometimes what you're going to get. It's an emotional deal sometimes. You know, you put a lot of work into people, trying them to get to the where they're imitating everything you do. But I just learned that, you know, you can't trust everybody at like face value. You know, you got to give them time and let them kind of show themselves, and then they kind of earn your trust or they don't.
Yeah. And how about you, Laura?
We are big on we have a lot of checklists and we just make sure that we have a good system in place. So for our jobs and stuff, so we know when our technician's going. We're very thorough on our note keeping, taking pictures at jobs, all that stuff. And that helps a lot with quality. So if I have someone call and say, to complain or not complain, whatever it is, I'm able to pull up that job or that customer's history and I can see exactly what's going on. And I can trust that it's that information's accurate because that's our process. That's what we do every single time. So that consistency key is a huge piece of it. But again, it's always a work in progress. We're always implementing new processes and new things to try to keep everyone on the same page. And
Yes, it is a moving target, especially as you grow. So, do you guys currently do more residential or light commercial, or what's the future look like in that regard?
we are primarily residential right now, but as we are growing, we are bringing on a lot more commercial customers right now. So that's a huge focus for us ending this year and going into next year to bring on more commercial clients. But I would say right now it's probably
75, 25,
yeah,
more residential.
yeah.
Okay, and who is it you would engage with, like a property manager or just building owners in general?
We work with all of them really. There's some property management companies that we work with. There's the building owners that we work with directly. Some of them are just the tenants because they're on a triple net lease and they don't realize how beneficial it is for them to upkeep their HVAC maintenance because when the system breaks down, they're responsible for that cost. Yeah, we really see a good mixture of all.
That's a great point too. So whether it's a homeowner or a commercial property, could you just talk about like what the proactive maintenance should look like? Because I actually think most people don't know this.
Yeah. So on residential, we have maintenance plans for residential and commercial. On residential, we go out 2 times a year, so in the spring and in the fall, to service the AC unit and then the furnace. We change all the filters, and then they also get discounts on if they do need service or replacement. For commercial, we go a little more because those systems tend to be used more and they're more expensive. So we like to be out there more to check those systems to see what's going on. And also the breakdown. No business wants to have, their AC go out in the middle of a Saturday if they're busy. So for those, we go out quarterly and it's a full system checkup to make sure that everything's working properly. We change the filters out. And again, they'll have that aspect if there are repairs needed, they get a discount on all those.
So you just reminded me of something. No business wants their AC to go out. So I got married in June and we had a beautiful wedding and it was like 100 degrees that day and the air conditioning went out during our wedding. And I can tell you it's brutal
Yeah.
because it was so hot and like it was crazy. But when you think about it, a lot of commercial buildings like they you can't I can't really think of many times where I've been somewhere and the AC has gone out. Like what are some of the things you guys have seen? I mean, you had to have seen like some crazy scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it to where, you're in like a mall setting. I think this one was Independence Center, maybe. One whole wing was controlled by one huge HVAC thing, and they couldn't get it working. We were actually out there doing tune-ups on a different system, but they hired a crew to come in and put all these portable air conditioners, pipe, piping them up to the vent. And this is all out in the open of the store. People are there. You lose business. People aren't going to be in there if it's 85 degrees and no
Yeah.
wind.
Or hotter.
We've
Very important.
I don't know some crazy stories that we have though. I mean, we have some Airbnbs, so those are usually like urgent, just had people check in and it's 100 degrees out and the AC is not working.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are crazy stories. I'm just not thinking of them.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, yeah. I mean, you see a lot of crazy things or weird.
Holidays, we've helped a
Yeah.
lot with on holidays in the middle of winter.
Wow. So yeah, I can only imagine some of the calls you get where it's like, wait, what? Excuse me. So what in owning your own business? What's the most fun part for you? Like, being able to see like the growth that you've had. How everything's starting to come together. Some of the I know you guys do a lot of community work too. Like, what is your favorite part on having your own company?
For me, just to see the growth in ourselves, the company, the stability, as far as our family goes, I'd say that just the stability for me is the main thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I like where we're at now. It's really cool that we're both able to, support our family with just this one company that we started. And now we have 2 other employees that we're helping them, get started on their feet because they're both pretty young still. And that we're able to do all that and still give back to our community every year. So it's really neat
Yeah,
that we're
that's
able to do
awesome.
things.
And what are some of the community type things that you guys do?
We adopt a family. Actually, we usually adopt a few families with the Liberty Community Christmas tree over the holidays, and then we deliver those gifts. We wrap them and we deliver them with boxes of food the week of Christmas every year. The rest is just a lot of miscellaneous. There's some nonprofit organizations in the area that we donate or give our time to every year, like Synergy Services and Seroptimist, and just wherever we see a need.
That's awesome. I mean, with your business, you give so much to it, and to be able to see one the growth, but also to be able to do things that are fulfilling to you and helps other people is really cool. And so when you look at like different components of your company, so like you have, the operation side, which Steven has a heavy hand in, right? And Laura, you do a lot of the marketing and people facing type stuff, networking, like you mentioned. What was the biggest challenge to get up rocking and rolling? Like, one of the things Steven mentioned earlier is creating processes and documents so you can train people to do things the way that you guys want it done. What, like, on the marketing and sales side, when you got started, was it like trying to figure out how to present yourself to the world basically, right?
I think that part was pretty easy,
Not
just
for me.
being I'm
Well, I mean,
sorry.
that's what makes you guys a great team too, right?
Yeah, that's true. And again, being in real estate, I know you have to put yourself out there. So for me, that's not even a question. I know that you just have to dive in and put yourself out there, but um
She does a very good job at putting herself out there. I couldn't do it. I mean, I can do it, obviously, but it would really drain me, mentally having to talk to that many strangers. But then I'm in everybody's, all these strangers' house and it's just completely different. I don't know why.
This is great. This is great because wait,
Yeah.
is part of it because, say you already have an appointment with them, you're expecting them, and they know that you're gonna lead them through whatever reason you're there, versus like Laura, you meeting somebody at a networking event, or, just being out meeting with other business owners or people. Like, you've got to find a way to find a common ground, right? And so I get what like, is that what would be exhausting to you, Steven?
Yeah. All the introductions and telling just probably small talk, honestly. That's the
Oh,
hardest for me. And I think when I'm at work in somebody's house, I'm kind of hiding behind a mask. I'm an HVAC guy versus going out to a public event talking to a bunch of random strangers. Yes.
yeah, no, it's there. And what about for you, Laura? Like, is that part just comes natural from being in real estate, or
I
do you?
don't know. I don't I mean that's how we met, Meg, was
Yeah,
at a network
talking about how we didn't want to be in a networking event.
would rather have been at home. So
Yeah,
it's not my favorite, but I mean that's what we're there for, right? We're just all again, just like you and I learned, we don't all want to be there. We'd rather be at home in our pajamas, but it's just part of owning a business, right? Getting out there and meeting people and making those.
yeah, and I mean, no one's ever going to care about your own business as much as you do, and getting over those first hurdles of being able to, like, in the Midwest, we don't really talk about ourselves much, right? And when you own a company, you got to be able to present what it is you do, and like communicate in an effective manner. And it's kind of weird at first where it's like, oh man, I got to talk about myself for this. And like that's what really stretched my comfort zone in the beginning of just being able to talk to people and effectively communicate how I work with them, right? Like, what is that something that you did as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this field's kind of easy though, because a lot of people want to support small local businesses and
Yeah.
there's not a ton of in-home service companies. There's a lot of good ones that are small, but there's not as big and prominent. So when people hear that, I think their ears perk up a little bit and it makes us stand out more. But yeah.
And so if you could talk to your younger self when you were getting ready to start your company, what's some advice you would give yourself, whether it's, you know, learning to be more patient, that it's a marathon, not a sprint, or what is something, when you look back at how you've grown, what advice would you give your younger self when you were about to start your company?
For me, it'd probably be just put yourself out there more, you know, um, not, you don't have to put yourself out there on everything, but do more than what you normally would. Get yourself accustomed to the bright lights and talking to people. And it's funny because in elementary school and middle school, I was just I'd go talk to the craziest stranger I've never met in my whole life and tell them my whole, life story. But as I've gotten older, I've just become more of a turtle, just kind of hiding in my shell a little bit at those events. So it's a big deal for me to be able to walk up and start a conversation, especially as a business owner. Like you said, you want to tell your story and put your brand out there. And yeah, I kind of just fold.
Yeah, and how about you, Laura?
What was the question again? Sorry.
What's
Steven,
what's advice you would give your younger self?
advice for my younger self. Yeah, probably just patience, a lot of patience and go slow. And yeah, I would say those are probably the biggest ones.
Have you guys had the moment of imposter syndrome where like what Steven's talking about? I know I've gone through this and I've seen and many others do it as well, where it's like you're at the front of the room, or like say you're even teaching, a new employee, each step. Like the first couple times, it's like, wow, just do it. Like just figure it out, right? Like, and realizing that they came there to work with you because they believe in you the way that you know what I mean? So, like, have you guys gone through imposter syndrome, and what was it like to feel like to finally realize like we own our own company, these are the things we're doing, and this is where we are?
I still have imposter syndrome sometimes, honestly. The best thing that helps me, I like Adam Grant a lot. He writes a lot of books, and he talks about it. The best, most successful people all have imposter syndrome. And that is honestly something that helps drive you. It makes you go further, and it's actually a good thing to kind of question yourself, instead of arrogantly going forward and thinking you know everything and the way that you do it's the best way and it's the only way. Having a little bit of that imposter syndrome can help you be like, well, is this the best way? Maybe somebody knows a better way. But just knowing we're all in that same boat together, honestly.
That is great. And so, like, what are things you do for your mindset? One, to check yourself, like you're saying, like Laura. One of the things you said in the beginning was, you know, facing the things that you don't know and leaning into them. Like, how do you guys continually evaluate yourself, whether it's working through imposter syndrome or finding ways to grow?
Resources for me, because if I don't have a lot of imposter syndrome anymore, I do sometimes, but it's kind of rare now that I've and it for me it was mainly something that I did as far as on the job, like a repair or second guessing myself too much about something. For me, it was because everything that I need to do, I can research somewhere and or somebody knows the answer. There's
Yeah.
always answers in HVAC, and yeah, that would help me out a lot. Resources.
And Laura, do you have anything like from a mindset standpoint? Like, what are things that you anchor to?
That I anchor to.
Like you mentioned reading. It, is it, confiding in a mentor? Is it, what?
I think it just depends on the issue. I'm very much someone that it's almost a fault at times that if something doesn't go perfect, I'm like, how can we do that better? And do I need to learn something to make that better? So, and not I know not everyone loves that kind of mindset because some people are like, it's okay that it wasn't perfect. But that's just how I'm wired. I just am always looking for the gaps of how can we make that better? Are we missing something? And from there, that's when I know, do I need to go talk to another business owner? Has someone else been in that position? Has someone else mastered that? Or I'll look online. So it just depends on the issue.
So you guys have obvious high levels of curiosity, right? Like if you're chasing perfection and you know, always trying to find a better way to do something or to improve. How do you radiate that to your team, right? Because usually curious people attract other curious people. Have you seen that your team starts to adopt that type of mindset of like trying to figure out different things and ways to improve?
Yeah, I would say so. And we just had an employee recently that came up with a checklist that we hadn't created yet on his own. Yeah, I would say so.
I think it takes a while. I don't know if everybody's born with that, as far as that
Yeah.
kind of that. Um, sooner or later, that's what you want them to do is to kind of help build the company. just in their way that they help out from their day-to-day stuff. They're like, "Oh, this is missing this," or "We could really use this." And that really makes me happy when I see that.
This is great. Okay, so there's a tipping point in your company or any company where it's hire people and it's a lot trying to figure out how to develop them and oh we didn't create this system and all that where you've basically got to A to Z hand them and help them figure everything out. Then there's a point where they're wind in the sail where now all of a sudden they're helping propel the company forward, right? Like that checklist you just brought up, like have you started to see with your team where they are bringing things that are improving the company and it's like invigorates you guys where it's like, holy cow, like we're doing it. Like, have you had those moments and what's that like?
Yeah, I love it. I love when we get feedback from customers on our technician and that, we trained him from Steven did, trained him from scratch. He didn't have any experience in HVAC. And now he's out on his own and he gets requests from customers that they want to see him. And it's awesome. Feels really good.
How cool is that?
Pretty cool.
That's wild. So how long did it take you guys to get to that point? And like I've seen a lot of owners or company leaders where they want to hold on to things so tight that they don't give their team a chance to flourish. It sounds like you guys are excited and welcoming that. And like what's it been like in your team's confidence? Like as they get a review like that or as they're brand new ideas and you start using them, like how does that ingrain them in with you guys and as the fabric and part of your company?
I mean, it just, like you said, it helps make them feel a part of the company. And that's, I think, what makes them feel confident enough to sit down and create a checklist that he sees a need for. And it just makes them feel valued and appreciated. And, we have some really long days sometimes, especially during the summer. It's hot.
Yeah.
They're tired. So it's nice being able to remind them that they're doing a good job. Especially
So
when someone spends a lot of money on an HVAC repair. If they're still liking you afterwards, that's a big deal.
Says a
that
lot.
is huge because
Yeah.
it's an invest. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm guessing most people don't have a savings for when their HVAC goes out.
Yeah. A majority. Yeah.
Some
And
do.
so go ahead.
No, I was just saying that some do though. You got your older people that are more set and they do think about it. As of some people, most people don't expect it when it happens.
How long does an HVAC system usually last?
It depends on prior maintenance, but your average neglected system that's just been repaired, never really been maintained, I'd say 12 years.
Okay.
But you can get them up to 15, 18. That's tops.
Yeah. And so to wrap up, guys, eh, what's advice you would give to somebody that's about to start a company? Looking back at all the areas that you've had the most success, like you mentioned earlier, patience is something you would tell yourself. What would you tell somebody that's about to start a company?
Don't be afraid of failures and setbacks. Oh, that's a big one. Ask for help. There's somebody that you can lean on somewhere. There's Facebook groups for everything. I'm in a lot of HVAC Facebook groups, but yeah, just it's going to happen. So just keep going, keep going. You'll get through it.
Awesome. Lord.
I would say the same thing. Just have a lot of really good contacts in place that you can talk to and lean on for support. And don't be scared to talk to people about what you're doing and what you're struggling with. So that way you can start out on the right foot.
Awesome. Yeah, and you're exactly right. Failure is part of it, and it's feedback to improve. And so, like people that go into, and I've it's happened to me before, where you go into a scarcity mindset and you look at what can go wrong instead of what can go right. I mean, mindset is everything in this game, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So to close out, could you please tell people how to contact you at Premier Comfort Heating and Cooling and what type of services they could expect from you?
Sure. So they can reach us by phone or online. Our phone number is 816-204-7332, and our website's premiercomfortkc.com. Services, we do residential and commercial, anywhere from maintenance, service, installation. We do have financing available for installs. and we do free estimates and free second opinions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the business growth journey and sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.